G'day, Hawks fans, and welcome to Talking Hawks. We bring Hawthorn fans across the globe together for some good footy conversation, few laughs along the way. But I'll tell you what we're bringing you tonight, the review of a win over Geelong. Oh, goodness me, Chris. I'm still on a high. How are you?
Yeah, it's an ecstatic feeling to beat Geelong, always is. And I guess it just makes it such a more enjoyable win, the fact that they're up and about on the ladder. We just come off a poor loss, and it just, when you're not expecting it, it just makes it so much better. Sweet.
Mate, you are not wrong at all. So all the fans out there, comment below, let us know where you are listening from. We want to be connecting as many people as far wide as this beautiful planet of ours goes. Tell us how you're feeling after a fantastic win. Adrian, you're not wrong. Win for the ages is exactly right. I argue, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that this would be in the best handful since the 2015 grand final. Do you think that's real or an overreaction?
No. I actually wrote it on one of the fan pages. Wasn't ours. I rated it probably in our top 5 non-finals win in the last recent memory for me. Don't ask me what year I want to date back to, but in my top 5 of recent memory.
We'll go with it. It was genuinely outstanding, and like we said, we're still on a high, and we know the fans are as well. We've got plenty on the agenda tonight. I want to talk about the defender not named James Sicily that deserves a bit more credit. I've got a curly question for you, Chris, which I can't wait for. You're replacing Matt's top 5, who Matt's going to pop in later on tonight to talk a bit about Jai, and we'll talk about everything amazing that he did on his own because he deserves all the plaudits in the world. So fans, let us know what you're thinking, what you want to ask. We want all those comments coming in. So let's start, like we always should, at the start of the game. Still in Melbourne, soaking up that win, and we're soaking wet as well. It's been shocking weather. Easter gave us all the joy, and then old Tuesday, back to work Tuesdays, delivered us a epoxy day weather-wise. But
that's about as excited as I've seen Cody in it.
Well, one of our favourites, Cody. So absolutely, if that doesn't tell you what will. Let's start at the start, mate. Now, I would argue there's no bigger punishment in footy than wrestling monkey. Is that fair to say?
Well, that was part of the coaching pre-game training. I guess the boys copped it a bit after the Saints, and I guess it started on the training track. So who knows what else went on besides the wrestling, but I didn't mind it. I think they copped a little bit of flack for it, but it worked.
And it's not as terrifying tackling, Jack Henry and Jed Buse when you got Monkey at the middle of Waverley, let me tell you. So for the first 6.5 minutes of this game, we had 26 disposals to 1. We had 6 tackles to 1, and we'd had 3 goals to none. Dylan Moore had gotten off to the best possible start. Gunners kicked the first. What were you thinking, mate, when Dylan Moore kicked his second? We were 3 goals up, and Geelong had hardly had a kick. Did you think it would last?
It's getting goosebumps already. It was just like, we have come to play today. I guess it was, is this sustainable? Which it's not, but to their credit, it was a pretty solid 4-quarter performance. I don't want to skip forward too far, but I was dealing with the kids and I missed the first 5 minutes of the second half. Got a bit of a shock when I come back to see the scoreline, but the boys steadied, and 4-quarter performance in the book,
which is all that we can ask for. And I the pessimistic Hawk fan that I am, my beautiful missus was up and about, and she was all the happiness, and she looked at me and she's like, why aren't you happy? And I'm like, something's coming. It can't last this long. But Port Adelaide, it did last that long, and we know the result wasn't similar to Port, but I was fully ready for the lead to be whittled down. But I think the whole entire first quarter performance, and we'll talk about James Sicily in just a tick, but it was a sign that St Kilda game, much like the Port Adelaide game, looks like it might be the anomaly. It was just the bottoming out, and this is still a really, really competitive group. So in a weird kind of way, I was actually happier that we withstood the catch challenge early, probably as happy as I was that we got off to the fast start.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the biggest disappointment about the Saints game was that they didn't respond. Like, they just dominated for 4 quarters. It was just like, we'll change things up. Let's try a bit harder. Like, we just got dominated all game. So anyway, we got it right this week. So let's hope we see more of that.
Yeah, we definitely did. And let's talk about James Sicily's start to this game, mate. So no Hawk According to Champion Data, no Hawk had taken 9 marks quicker in a game than James Sicily did. He did it in 25 and a half minutes of the first quarter, which is insane. Finished with 12 touches.
A bit different if you're a forward or something like that who's presenting for marks, but the fact he's gone and got him in the back line, top effort.
It was just outstanding, and he used the ball so well all day, 88% in those conditions, considering he kicked the ball, I think, 22 times. It's I think that was one of the things that was maybe a bit surprising, considering even when it was wet during even the three-peat times, we kind of had to go back to the dirty old contested style, but the back six were really clean by foot.
Yeah. No, I think it stemmed to those two key matchups, which they referred to on the commentary as well, and I think we absolutely nailed it. Yes, they did get off the leash at times a little bit, but overall, if we didn't have Frosty and Sicily doing their jobs and holding them right down, and not just holding them down, but actually influencing the contest dramatically. So, yeah, they were huge.
Frosty was off to a shaky start, played Hawkins' back shoulder and thought he could get him on the lead, and we'll talk about what Hawkins did later on, but he got away from Frosty a bit, and I think what...
Yeah, you're not talking about this one, are
you? Yeah, something like that, the shooting star that he is, but the fact that Frost was able to adjust then and then play side shoulder, so he would be always goal side of Tomahawk's shoulder, and he kicked that goal at halftime, Tomahawk, but you want him taking shots from that spot, because if he kicks them, what else are you going to do? I'd much rather him take, if he's going to have 6 shots a goal, I'd rather it from there and try to kick it 4 times out of 6 than directly in front. So I think huge kudos needs to go to Frosty. And we talk about James Sicily, amazing game. He did it whilst playing on Jeremy Cameron, who we forget has won a Coleman medal before. So it's nothing more than a massive tick, surely.
Yeah, it just makes his performance even the more impressive. And we'll get to it later, but he's definitely in the Brownlow votes.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Absolutely. Great for Sam, to our coach, Chris Scott. Yeah, you're not wrong. It was fantastic. Huge shout out to Chris Scott. Joel Selwood is something like the number 6 clearance player in first quarters this year, and he spent the first 8 minutes on the bench. Just delightful. Loved it. Danger only attended, I think, 1 centre bounce in the last quarter. So, again, outstanding coaching, Chris Scott, and we thank you for that. And we'll talk about what your brother's done that didn't impress us either, but huge tick for Sam Mitchell, I think, mate.
So they got stuck on the bench for another 6-minute period, I think. Selwood again, which I found quite amusing.
That rest really worked out well, didn't it? GMHBA was outstanding. Okay, Fabio, you've gone ahead of me here, but he is the defender that we need to talk about. So 24 touches, over 80%, but not just that. Scrim's weakness, and if we can call it a weakness, he's really worked on it, was his one-on-one ball. If the ball got to ground, Scrim could get himself into a little bit of trouble, but I thought he was outstanding. He had a couple of huge efforts on Brandon Parfitt and Mitch Duncan out on the far flank in the third quarter, which are outstanding. And when this guy gets, the ball in his hands, we feel safe as a collective fan base. And I think that's one of the reasons why we loved the three-peat so much. One of those things that don't get talked about enough. And I have no doubt that when we, lift up the 14th Cup, that he will be a big reason why.
Yeah, he just rarely makes a mistake, always makes a right decision, whether it be drawing a player, giving the handball, choosing to kick. It always seems to be the right decision.
And we've talked about in the past that we want the Hawks players to take it on. Speaking of not making mistakes, he made an absolute blunder of a kick out. He kicked it to a 3-on-2 in favour of the Cats. And we kind of went, what are you doing, Scrim? The next kick out he took on an extremely similar kick. And I think he hit CJ just smack bang on the chest. And you go, all right, that's absolutely, if you pull it off, we score. If you don't, we'll cop the consequences of that. And Scrimshaw being our best kick, that's a huge call. What do you think, man?
He's not far off.
Top 3 for sure.
Yeah, top 3. Well, let's just not argue about it. I was just about to on that one. Thanks, moderator.
Taking down Duckwood. Yeah, it was. He had sort of 3 tackles in a row there, Nashy. He took Selwood down. I think he got Parfitt as well. So we definitely brought the pressure.
I've got it in my notes with a big love heart. Nashy run down tackle on Selwood. And also, right next to it, Maury's tackle on Isaac too. I think Isaac turned into it, but I still love. He approached him so quickly and just caught him off guard, I think. So that's a huge improvement in Maury's game, his ability to tackle and hold them. Like, he slipped a couple on the weekend, but he held more than he dropped. So, and that's what we need to happen.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's like Izzy had that look in his eyes of which one of you are my teammates again, and it caught up to him at once, which was okay. What did you think of the booing? It's a topic that needs to be talked about. Personally, I think all the media that want to make this a bigger deal than it is clearly don't know how much Hawthorn fans don't like Geelong.
Yeah, look, it's a passionate game for the players. It's passionate for the supporters. I'm not for it, but caught up in it, and who cares? If anything, if the people actually realised, Isaac probably responded to it and played better. So, like, if you want to spur him on, boo him. Like, it doesn't help us. But I couldn't care less. It doesn't affect him. He's got thick skin. Some players it probably does affect, but whatever. Move on.
Speaking of Izzy, how much of a compliment was it that he went to CJ in the first half and tried to shut him down? I thought CJ was I think he was better than maybe was spoken about a bit. He does have a couple of moments, CJ, where you're just thinking the easiest option, the first option's the best one, but he's trying to create. He'll learn from it. He's played 27 games. We're not going to knock him that much, but that's a huge, I think, tick of approval for the Hawks youth that someone that young and inexperienced effectively gets a wingman's tag.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, he'll learn from it. But at the end of the day, he probably won or pulled even. I'm not sure where we sat. But like I said, they mentioned it in the commentary. I didn't actually notice it personally. But if they had a bit of a tag, I'm just trying to think. I think it was a game earlier in the season where he got shut down, and it really did affect us as a team. So I think maybe they tried to replicate that without the success of the one that was successful.
Absolutely, which is huge prompts to CJ. And here is the main man himself. Welcome, Matty.
Thank you. Welcome. Medical sub in, replacing no one. Dominic's just stirred me up. I just have to get off the bench here. Look at this. It's calling you out, Daz. Here we go.
It's also not what I said, but I said that the worst thing that we can do is have Titch win our best and fairest. So I still don't think he's doing that, and he's been outstanding for the last fortnight. So shout out to Titch. He's been fantastic in as much as, other players have been. And Titch's last quarter, he was the best man on the ground for the last 30 minutes. So credit where it's due, sure.
Oh, Christopher, did you hear that? You and
I heard that.
Titch,
we rate our player ratings for a full game, not a quarter.
Oh, it wasn't a quarter. I was saying the Titch had a lot more than a quarter, mate. Fans, help us. Who? It's a big call. If you had to look,
we'll get there at the end. I'll explain it.
All right. Sorry,
had
boys.
12 touches and only 1 clearance in the first half, Matty. Had 21 touches and 8 clearances in the second half. Just reciting the numbers. That's all I'm doing.
Opinion?
I think the impact on certain possessions, just the scrapping of Titch at times, it was instrumental. So both. Look, isn't it good to be having a debate around who is the best, highest impact player of two, midfield, guns in a game, in one of the biggest games of the Hawthorn calendar. So, all right, I won't steal the agenda. Carry on, Dave.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scotty. I'm with you, mate.
Oh, Scotty didn't have Titch in his top 3. Oh boy, get the gloves out. But I agree with you. What a fantastic position to be in, that we've got, passionate fans on both sides going, well, he definitely was, he definitely wasn't. The point is that he's not the number one, which is what the Hawks need. He can still be our best player. It just can't be daylight. And not only is it not daylight, he wouldn't be leading our best and fairest right now. He just wouldn't be, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter, Hawks are up by 22 points and seemingly flying. And then, as young teams do, we kind of let it slip. I think Mitch Duncan was the one that kicked a goal, and then Tomahawk kicked that one on the siren. how were we feeling when the halftime siren went? Tomahawk kicked that goal. He'd done it to us under more heartbreaking circumstances in the past, but it just felt like the momentum had shifted.
Yeah, I've just got it's actually Dangerfield, I think, because I've got it in my
Danger,
notes.
yeah, was too.
The red time goals, yeah, you can get a bit tired towards the end of the quarter, but it's just so important. Like you said, that was a valuable lead we had, and it would have been so much harder for them to come back in the second half had we maintained that margin. So something to learn from. I'm pretty sure Mitchell would have raised it in their post-game discussion. So they'll visit that. You can't be perfect. You can't stop them from scoring all the time. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, exactly right. I couldn't agree more.
The gut sank a little bit after they were pretty wayward with some of their set shots in that first half. So it was you kind of like these things balance them out. Yeah, most games you don't always kick more goals than points. So I was just like, there you go, okay. So yeah, it showed some resilience and some mettle.
And we weren't taking shots from bad positions on the ground. I don't think we had a shot deeper than 35 metres on I think bigger than a 40-degree angle they showed on the Fox Footy Lab. So that's just setting yourself up for success. So the third quarter, and this is I think where all the guts sank, 5-2. The Cats' way. They got on top with the midfield ascendancy. And yes, there are going to be people out there that are going to talk about the whistleblowers. We'll do that in a minute. But Tom Stewart got himself behind the ball and just mopped up everything. Were you guys like me and yelling at the TV for someone to almost do a Jordan Lewis style forward tag on him, considering he was, basically got back to all Australian form in the space of 20 minutes?
I'll let Chris answer, but I was hating that Hodgie was complimenting him. It just did my head in.
Just being a fair commentator like Cam Mooney was, you could see how much he was hurting saying how good the Hawks were. Yeah, it's a hard one because it's, do you sacrifice someone to play on him? Because you can't really have a two-way player play on them. It's pretty hard anyway. Is it worthy of a tag? I'd say yes, potentially. Would have been nice to at least just to stem the flow.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm not sure that our current structure accommodates that too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I guess you need someone quick enough. But even if it's a Gunston or someone who's just smart enough just to read the play and just know, keep him away from the ball.
Gunners was having his own problems at that point with Sam DeConning grabbing the back of his jumper and no one seeing it by the 40,000 people in the crowd and 100,000 watching at home. But other than that, it was basically invisible. So I don't blame Gunners for that. But we get to the last quarter, boys, and if we ever needed a sign that things might have gone our way, Tom Phillips kicking a drop punt when he went for a banana and hitting Luke Bruce lace out in what can only be described as the pass of the year or the worst shank, depending on who you barrack for. But we're all Hawthorn fans, so we're calling it a pass. And then Punky puts it through. Do you think we underrate just how skilled that set shot was from Luke Bruce, considering that's 25 out, opposite foot, 3 steps, and he just made it look effortless?
I think you're underestimating Flip here because he's turned it around for me. I've seen him at training practicing his reverse banana kicks. That it's a fake, and it worked. Go on.
I just burst into laughter, and I went straight into my notes as Klanger shot on goal. Landed for a mark.
Yeah, it was simply extraordinary. And then, we're up by a kick. This is obviously later on. And the ball out the back. So for those watching at home, the kick went forward. And I honestly didn't know Mitch Lewis was out the back at all. I just went, we've taken territory and we can live with that. How was the sense of euphoria when you realised, no, this is Lewis that's taking the mark? He did a bit of the old Johnny Barker turn around to have a look at the defender behind him before he put it in the second stand, and he's kicked the goal and we were home. And that's a feeling I've missed, even though we've had wins this year. Is that crazy to say?
Go, Matty.
I loved it. He slowed right down too, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He really gave it a bit. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling, and I think, felt around the world by Hawks fans. It's fair to say.
I think Geelong basically rolled the dice. They had to attack to win the game, and that was part and parcel of them throwing it all at the stumps, and that was the result of us turning around and bang, easy kick out the back.
Yeah.
There's Justin liking Mitch Lewis more and more. I think we all are. I think he's on 15 goals. So he's in the top, I think, 5 for the Coleman. And let's face it, this is a guy, and we'll put our hands up that this is career on the line this year. Out of contract, he kicked 8 in the practice game, and we all went, well, yeah, it's a practice game. Good luck to you. But not only does he clunk his grabs, he's actually got that swagger when he lines up for a set shot, which is all we can ask for. And I think he's now 15-7 for the year, which is, it's been a while since we've had some accurate tall men in front of goals.
I think his confidence is just growing, obviously by taking marks and kicking those goals, and can't knock a man while he's he's up and about. So just run while he's hot, and let's hope it keeps going.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So Matty, I thought you had something there, but let's move on to the sad news, and that was the big noodle. Ned Reeves went down with a dislocated shoulder that just wouldn't pop back in. I haven't done one myself, but my brother did 11 years ago and still complains to me about how much it hurt, so I'm not going to give Noodle any slack for that, nor anyone should. The media claiming that him smiling and laughing on the bench with a dislocated shoulder is, we're not robots, for crying out loud. He can enjoy a win, but this really does damage the tall stocks, boys. And this is where the Max Lynch hype that we built up from the start comes to the fore.
Well, as long as Maxi stays away from all things that might cause anaphylactic reactions and bees,
yeah, that'd be handy.
Happy as Larry, but I can vouch for popped the shoulder a few times in and out. They do hurt, and the pain goes away pretty quick. So his laugh on the bench, all good. Look,
I reckon they might put him in permanent lockdown because we can't afford another close case COVID isolation again.
What you don't want, and Ruckman's exposed to it all the time with the angle of the arms, is when their arms get taken out, he's just obviously got his own body force in that occasion, but you really don't want the shoulders to go on a ruckman. You need them to put their hands up and take a good grab, and they're constantly copying the wax from different angles. So get him right if he needs it, but it could be a quick recovery. It wasn't like it was in and out. So whatever we need to do to look after him, I agree. And I can't recall the fan earlier. Someone mentioned, is it time to have a look? Mid-season draft. So we've touched on that a little bit in some of the Talking Hawks socials. Maybe.
Yeah, I think, we put on about me looking at Max Ramsden, who looks like a really good type, Sandringham Dragons. And I do accept people's point that if we do go mid-season draft, it would need to be for someone playing now, because developing another young ruckman would seem maybe counterproductive. I understand that. And I agree. But the Nash and Cozzy comment that was up before, it can't happen. We've got Sydney next week. Call Peter Laddams what you like. Justin, I'm always looking, mate. Max Ramsden looks like the best ruckman out of the mid-season draft, 19-year-old from Sandringham Dragons. So keep an eye on him if you're keeping an eye on the NAB League there. But we've got Peter Laddams next week who, like it or hate it, I know he wasn't up against much in West Coast last week, was one of the best on the ground. So we do need to give him that respect, and Max Lynch is the way to go. But let's give Cozzy, let's give Connor Nash some credit. Yes, Reece Stanley is a maligned ruckman in this competition, but for the first half a dozen hitouts, Reece Stanley was looking like Max Gawn, and then by the end of the game, I felt like he had very little effect, and that's going from a 195-centimetre Irishman and a centre-half forward who hasn't played ruck a day in his life. So let's give these boys some kudos, I think.
Yeah.
I thought the tactics were to run them into the ground by exploiting them, but I think they did extremely well. I was quite impressed with Cozzy on Big Tomahawk, because a lot of people struggle rucking against him, and he really outdone him. So,
and can we go back a week or two? And Cozzy didn't show up that much in the ruck at Box Hill, so big kudos to him. What's that?
He only played about a quarter before he had his eye poked out.
I was talking the week prior as well, but
surprised he didn't go for the Mason Cox sunglasses. That would have been handy. He wouldn't have been able to catch a thing. Poor bloke. Goodness me.
Couple of questions we had. One, Warps and HMO, Harry Morrison. There's two, probably, I just say different opinions. Jarvis, chimed in here with something on Harry. I'm seeing more of that this season. Some fans maybe see him in a different light, but I reckon he's putting together a good season.
I heard some criticism too, but I was just like, and he wasn't outstanding this week, but he's had some good games, and it's not like he's getting 10 possessions. I think he had nearly 20. So, and he's running. The stuff he does off the ball is just as important as his possessions.
Yeah, his ball use wasn't at his best. I think he went at 57%. So, whilst that is, the conditions weren't perfect for him, and he does seem like, and I do mean this in the nicest possible way, he does seem like a sunny weather player. That outside run, the guy that can go from arc to arc, get on the outside, deliver the ball inside 50, this type, it just wasn't the conditions for that. And I thought at times he might have rushed his disposal, but under no circumstances do I think he's having anything less than a breakout year. And he's best 23 unless something goes horrifically wrong, and knock on wood, it doesn't. So let's talk about the Worpel. 5 touches.
Just before you do, I think in seasons gone by, there's been times where you want to see HMO put his body on the line, and he hasn't always done it. In a wet weather game, staying on one's feet makes sense if you're a light-footed fellow and can move up and down the ground and help get that. I don't know what his meters gained were, but anyway, I wouldn't say this week was as good as some of his other games this year, but still, he held his own.
Yeah, and if that's the worst that he is by foot, then I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got for the next 17 weeks. So keep going, Harry. So the Worpel, 5 touches last week, 72% time on ground, was made the sub. Now, I think if Box Hill didn't have a bye, he probably would have played Box Hill. Was brought on really early, and it was every Hawk fan just, pardon the expression, watched him like a Hawk, like it was everything he did was going to come under scrutiny. Ball use wasn't great. His endeavour was about 11 out of 10. So for me, it's a tick. I'm still undecided on whether he's in the 22 next week and not the sub. Tick. What do we think?
Unless Matt's got a different opinion, because we seem to differ a little bit, but some of these clangers, when you're open, nobody around you, and you're kicking the ball into the forward 50, don't kick it to 2 or 3 Geelong players by themselves. You are smarter than that, kid. Slow the ball down, move it sideways. Just, you don't have to kick it forward. Just stupidity.
So is it fair?
Is it fair to say
he went at 43%? It's just not good enough.
I like how you managed to bottle it all up, man, and we have to guess how you're feeling. It's really, you got a really reserved look about you. It's outstanding. So do you think he was more damaging without the ball than he was with the ball yesterday?
Yeah. For me,
is that frightening?
Well,
depends on the role he's being asked to play. Like I think he was told
to 43% every week. He can improve that, but sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, I think he played to his strengths. Sam's trying to keep it simple and get him back up and firing again. If it's use your body, it's a wet day, go and wreak some havoc and get the ball to our team's advantage. So yeah, it didn't always look nice, but yeah, we don't know the role that he was necessarily set on the day. But look, you'd like to think that's going to improve a lot. So in terms of his disposal, wet day and disposal as well. If you're in and around. Well, look, Jai was probably similar on disposal efficiency. Yet we're pretty happy with his output. Well, we are very happy with his output. But for a seasoned player, you do have a higher expectation.
Yeah, and we will touch on Jai, but I'll transition into the curly question here. So, moderator, you are going to get an influx of messages here. So, I am, and this will surprise no one, a big consumer of footy content, and on the AFL Exchange podcast with Riley Beveridge, Riley Beveridge, Cal Toomey, and Sarah Ollie. They had a segment called If I Was, which is and they come up with scenarios that should happen throughout the footy season. And Riley Beveridge said, if I was Port Adelaide or West Coast, I would be ringing up James Worpel's manager and going, what would it take to get you across? So the curly question is, do you think James Worpel is on our list next year, even though he's got a contract? We're still 17 weeks out. There's still so much to go through. But if they pick up the phone and say, here's a second round pick, do you take it?
Handball.
Told you it would be
Yeah,
Curly.
later.
Oh, Chris has shipped him.
Yeah.
Chris has packed his bags.
Second rounder, I'm taking that.
He was bottling it, and I could see his red face amongst the yellow and
Glad
brown.
to see you took some time to think it through.
I was waiting to see if you were going to throw the figure at what was on offer. Second rounder. Depends where we finish on the ladder, but I think for me, I'd take it.
Well, it would depend where they finish. So Port and West Coast, if they're going to be the bottom six sides, we're looking at.
It's not our pick; it's their pick.
Yeah, if North get that priority pick at 19, for example, so we're looking at Jimmy Worpel for 20, at worst 28, and Geelong. Yeah, but we don't talk about Hawthorn players going to Geelong. I'll tell you who else would need an inside midfielder, and this will make you sick as well, is the Bombers. Ugh. Who brought that up? Jesus.
Oh, it's good. The fans are biting on your curly one. So is this what we're calling this? The curly question segment?
Yeah,
the curly cues?
Absolutely.
All right. So some thoughts, and we're all hypothesizing here. So if I'm theoretically, we love Warps. I'm going to throw up Titch. Titch is playing out of his skin for most of this season. Do you sit back as a club and look at the history of when those two have tried to play a similar type of game and we haven't quite worked out that formula for them both? Do you take a younger player who's got that potential that needs to find some perhaps a few more rungs and climb up again, and trade out a Titch when you can get more value for him? He's closer to the end, probably chasing success harder than Warps. I don't know. They both probably want it in terms of the success, but when you're trying to be realistic and build a list, you got to look after the players as much as anything. So if I'm those other clubs, yeah, I'm absolutely knocking on the door. I don't know that Warps is going to want to go.
Well, yeah, again, that needs to be taken
into account. But at this point in time, you just got to look at it. And I'm looking at a one-trick pony. I'm not sure what other position he can play or role he can play in the team besides that bull midfielder. And I just don't think he's doing that well at the moment. If Mitchell's out of the side like he was when he was playing his best footy, does that change the scenario? I'm not sure. But, yeah, something that's got to be looked at. And I guess it will only come about if the other clubs come knocking or unless we shop him around ourselves.
Yeah.
Tell you what a debut for the curly question. How good's this?
All right.
Absolutely.
And I've got to give some kudos to Melbourne for, we often have our little back and forth. So, just throwing around hypotheticals. It's a tough game when you got to pick the people that have led the club. Anyway.
That's it. All right. We are 33 minutes in and we have not talked about Jai.
Bramble. One more question. It came up earlier, a few things. What do we do with Rams? Bramble coming in. He's ready.
In my discussion, I was saying that personally, I'd like to see him have at least one run in the Magoos, just for his fitness, just for sake of fitness. I wouldn't argue if he comes straight in with the team. We know what he's capable of.
There's no downside to VFL. If he gets a knock, he does it at VFL level, which doesn't. It probably sounds a lot more harsh than I want it to, but it doesn't affect the senior side because he's already not there. And if he gets through it and he's fit, then look out. I think Melbourne, we've got in 2 weeks' time, which would be a really good matchup. Or the Gold Coast, I think it's one of those. So whoever comes up against Lachie Bramble fully fit, good luck stopping him, I reckon.
Yeah. All right. There we go. A few different thoughts.
Bramble to Box Hill. There we go. So, can we talk about Jai? How we've waited this long is criminal, but we're here
now. Incredible round, incredible body of work since this lad's come in. If you haven't seen the interview with him on Talking Hawks, he hasn't done a lot of media talking. He's on 360, AFL 360 tonight. So thank you. I think it was Lauren for mentioning that earlier. We can't get enough of him at the moment. Those that
we got him first
have the brown and gold. Well, thank you, Hawthorn Football Club, and we have a group of fans that have joined us last year to fortunately sponsor. It was initially Denver, and we hoped for more, and we ended up getting enough money together to sponsor Jai. So that gives us the perks of being able to, have certain experiences as a group and whatnot. And we're going again. I just want to, hopefully this works. Am I sharing the screen? Is that working?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I didn't set this one up tonight, so I reckon I am going to struggle a little bit here, but let me try one more time.
Chris, we might need some of your Irish jigging while this is coming up if you want to entertain us.
Let me
get up on my chair and start dancing there.
Get the jig happening. So I'm going to chuck, there you go, in the comments, Talking Hawks player sponsorship. So let me tell you all about it. So this year we're thanking those that have been with us, want you to continue on the journey, but Denver, Jai, the Duke, and we're also welcoming one Chankwath Giath into the mix to have a pretty hyped up group of boys to follow. And our goal at Talking Hawks is to connect Hawks fans from around the world. One way we're doing it is getting a little bit of money into the club. So we've got a few things. Check out that link. We've got a few interviews with Denver and Jai on there, but we're explaining we're hoping to raise $6,000 this year to sponsor those three lads. We want to have enough money to sponsor a Box Hill player, and we want to look towards an AFLW player. If there's some leftover, it'll go towards the Hawthorn Football Club Foundation. So we're giving into the past and the future of our club. In doing that, details are through that link. Player sponsorship, you can donate. We're doing that all through an organisation called My Cause. Fortunate we've had a few people already just fire off. We're sitting on 950 of our 6,000 target.
Wow.
Check out some of the cool things in there, including 2 tickets to the lounge for round 9, Richmond v Hawks, amongst other things that if you're part of that mix, then you might they might be your spoil. So thanks for joining us. This is only possible because of you and those that may not have even heard of sponsoring a player. We bang on about it a bit, but the club's got some really cool things where there's opportunities for us to have things like these players, in a Zoom call, talking to coaches and different things. We get opportunities as Talking Hawks to continue to connect with you as fans, and keen to announce some few things. We can't quite drop them yet, but Box Hill and things that we're hoping to drop. So anyway, check it out, please. If you, not everybody can, but if you are able to and would love to join us and a small group of fans, then bring it on. We're back to a few rippers. Sam's presser. First 2 players he mentions, Jai Newcomb, Denver Granger Barras. I'm like, yeah, baby. So get around it, people.
That's it, absolutely. And it's it's fantastic, like you said. And in a segue not seen since Paul Blart Mall Cop, let's go through Jai's stats here. 31 touches, 61% disposal efficiency, can be forgiven for the conditions, but his meters gained were outstanding. Let's start with only 9 contested possessions. So this is a guy that came in, had 14 tackles on debut, and you could be forgiven for thinking, okay, these aren't my words, but he's just another contested midfielder. He's gotten it 23 times on the outside, and what that's telling me is the spread from stoppage is improving out of sight the longer we go. What do we think?
Yep, nailed it, mate. Yeah, I think he's always had a bit of a tank and he's run hard, but he's just finding a bit more space, and wouldn't be surprised if he starts getting a hard tag.
And I'm not saying if it's because of us that he's dominating, but in the 2 games since, he's had 2 career best performances. So think of that what you will. But he took 7 marks, 5 score involvements, 3 tackles, which is about 9 less than his contract state. So he'll be shattered with that. 6 inside 50s, 3 rebounds, which tells you that he's working his way across the ground. 8 clangers. Come on, Jai. Goodness me, son. But look, you're getting the ball 31 times. He hadn't had more than 21 coming into the season. He's now broken that twice. If he's getting the pill 31 times, he'll only get better with that. So it's kind of overwhelming a little bit just how fantastic it was to see him not only have a career best performance, but do it in a different way than we've seen in the past.
Should you get 2 disposals for a 30-metre hand pass?
If we did, mate, Hodgie would have averaged about 38 touches a game in 2014, I think.
What I found more impressive about that handball was he went on to get the ball further down the ground and get the inside 50 kick, which was a bit of a clanger, but landed in our arms for a shot on goal. So, it was that running effort, which not all people do. So,
yeah, exactly right. And we can't fault the bloke for finding the footy. Go on, matey.
Go again.
No, I just said you can't knock the bloke for trying if he's finding the footy that much. So it covers the ground great. And it's just, I think he knocked over a few barriers tonight. The box that he might have been put in by whether it's media or fans as to what he is. This is improvement out of sight. And he's that good. They're going to change the mid-season draft rules that you can't put the financial, you can't put the price on your head anymore because when the Hawks do the right thing by the rules, they've got to change it. So thanks, AFL. Appreciate that. But we've already got our man, boys, so we're not complaining in the slightest.
Well done, Hawks. And once again, but to see his role evolving and him responding, sorry if I missed it right at the start, but that courage and just that first ball, where he takes on views and I remember young James Worpel turning into blind turn as Joel Selwood and us all standing on our feet. There was no big collision, but Jai's just stuck that ball under his wing, taken it, and then got punched out that handball. Amazing. He set the tone. It was just incredible. If you got that sort of a ticker, and the body to do that week in, week out, we've got some exciting years ahead.
Daz, I'm going to throw you a curly one back.
Oh, hello. Yes, please.
Sicily coming off knee reco.
Yep.
Due for contract. Is he $1 million player? Especially after these salary caps have changed. Is 7 figures on the table?
So you reckon, would I sign him for $5 million over 5 years? Is that what you're asking me? As I have some difficulties with my own here. Apologies for
that. Basically,
the lamp says no.
Yeah, that's it. You shook the light, Chris. That's not what we want. Right, there we go. We're all fixed.
That's the first question. Is he worth that much? Would you pay that much?
To get him out of Hawthorn, I would.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
I think
to keep him at Hawthorn, if that's what it takes, then you would get it done. I wouldn't start there. But if he takes it there, then yes, I think we do it. We're notoriously a club that doesn't shell out those kind of figures. And the only contracts that get talked about that we've offered these kind of money to, the last one was Stephen Cornelio. We didn't get him. And if we're being honest, that probably has worked out all right for us because we've been able to develop some youth. So maybe the tight nature of who I am might be coming out a little bit here. I wouldn't start at that figure, but if we end up there, Adrian, earthquake, Chris's question just knocked me over. So going beautifully. I wouldn't start there, but if it ends there, I'm not disappointed.
It's going to be a hard one, isn't it? With we're talking throwing out Worpel earlier. You're throwing out Sicily now. Both have been the same sentence as the word captain thrown out there in our beloved Hawthorn Football Club. So,
well, we do have the cap space. I'll learn how to talk in a minute. You kind of rattled me there, Chris. But insider trading with Cal Toomey has said that we're a top 5 club in terms of money. So the financials will take care of itself. That's not the question here. We're not falling over ourselves to get the money from somewhere. We do have it. So I would be stunned if that's the figure that we get to. I think it might be offered to him, and if we offer him $4 million for 5 years and the captaincy, I think that stays. I think he's next. I don't really understand why Sis isn't it now while McAvoy's out. Seemed like the perfect audition. Brett there,
if we pull the trigger early and he does his knee in the second half or after we sign the contract, then we've just thrown away money.
Yeah, but if he's going to do his knee
at the end of the year,
but he could also say that he's going to do his knee at another club. Like that's just the nature of the beast. I don't think anyone in this league is worth more than 5 years. By the way, this is something that I've been strong on. Grundy's deal looks horrific, and I know Buddy's the outlier, but I agree with you. If Christian Petrarca does a knee next week and does one more, that 6-year deal for the D's does not look that good. Now, luckily for him, he's won a flag, so you could say that's already been paid. But you look at Tom Boyd when he went to the Dogs, again, shadowed by the fact that he won a flag. But that Grundy deal and the Stephen Cornelio deal, if Cogs doesn't get to the level that GWS thinks he is, we're going to look at both of those and go, I'm good. Let's build this core as it comes. But yeah, if it says Daz, he either signs 5 years for $5 million at Hawthorn or somewhere else, I'm keeping him at the Hawks. Yeah, exactly right, Fred.
Any player can do a knee, but the recurrence rate is very high. So, just saying.
Was his first real lower injury for his career. So I'd like to see Sicily. I would have loved it. I would have loved it now. I really would. But it would be senseless to take it off Jaeger unless we dropped him. And, oh boy, wouldn't that be a big call?
All right, boys. Well,
till the end of the year.
Well, I reckon, look, we're getting onto some theoreticals and looking to the future a bit. Let's give it a wrap. But
we've only got one more thing to go, Matty. Which one of you boys is giving us the top 5?
I'll go.
Oh, Chris is doing it. Here we go. Matt, you get to judge the top 5. You get to be me right now. This is going to be extraordinary. No pressure, Chris. You got 2 of us.
So I'll start at the bottom for 1 vote. Tom Mitchell. 2 votes. 2 votes. Maury. 3 votes, which I've probably given higher than most did. Gunston. Absolutely 3 clutch goals at critical times against the flow. And the one from 55 metres out, I'm like, he can't kick that far anymore. He just proved me wrong. Outstanding, I thought. Just kicked them when we needed them. It was very important. 4 to Jai, 5 to Sicily. So, Daz, have you given 5 to Sicily?
Well, you'll have to find out tomorrow, mate. The piece is coming, the star review. Okay. I don't see a lot wrong with that. Fans get involved. Matty, he's taken over your segment, and we need to know, are you happy with how he's delivered, or are you going to be taking it back next week? Because
I don't agree. I don't agree at all. But
I'm shocked.
Different order. Reckon Mitchell played a better game than Jai, and I've given him 4 versus 1. So take that.
Yes, I do. Boy. Gunston 1, Mort 2, Newcomb 3, Sicily 4, Titch 5.
Titch is not best on, mate.
Wow. Okay, fans get involved. That's astounding. And I can't wait for mine to drop tomorrow. So looking forward to it. Sis 5 from Paul there.
It's probably
fans, we like that disagreement.
Rather than the top 5, but
Spring was good.
Yep. Tough to miss out if you were.
Grimshaw should be in the votes. Absolutely. Oh, boy. I like it, fellas.
Keep floating, fans. Keep enjoying this feeling. We're building. I think Sam wrapped it up nicely. He was talking about just milestones and looking at different things. So, it might be a season of different results. I love seeing the response. I don't know if Monkey's body can handle it if Nashi goes at him all year. We will see if Sammy pulls that one out again. But I loved that they set the tone and are responding as a group. So fingers crossed for Noodle, for Reva. And, good game.
Couldn't agree more. And we're going to ride this high for the entire year, no matter what happens next week. But we'll talk about all that in the preview, which will be coming Thursday, fellas. No more Thursday night footy for the year. So it opens the schedule up a touch more, which is good for us in a way, even though Thursday night footy is extremely enjoyable. So can't wait to talk about Hawthorn, Sydney, Anzac Day, always a big occasion.
Someone's on your side.
All right, I need to get in the middle of this brotherly rivalry here because you two are going to kick off.
Outside of this, if you are keen, to join us, we would love you to get involved. Talking Hawks Incorporated, we're a club, so you will get a receipt if you are joining us to sponsor. Wouldn't it be great to have CJ on Talking Hawks?
That's the plan.
Don't threaten me with a good time, seriously. Oh, boy.
All right. Awesome, boys. Thank you, everyone.
Easy as, guys. Let's get out of here. All done. We beat the Cats. That's my New Year's resolution taken care of. So thank you, Hawthorn. Can't wait to see you guys for the Sydney preview. Until then, enjoy the win. And most importantly, go the Hawks.
Catch you guys.